All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Poetry Open Mic ASHEViLLE. My name is Caleb Beissert. It's a pleasure to be your host this evening. Thanks for riding with us tonight. I am so excited about the show tonight. Eric Tran is our feature poet, a fabulous poet from right here in Asheville with us, one of the Asheville crew now. And yes, we're very excited to have him on the mic. We're gonna get to that feature spot here in just a few minutes, and we're gonna get to everyone else too. We've got a lot of open micers signed up tonight, and I think we even have a few spaces left if you want to get on the list. I do want to give special thanks tonight to our sponsor, Sovereign Kava, the Kava bar here in Asheville, and everyone tuning in down outside the bar tonight. They are open for to-go orders, and they do have some patio seating, limited patio seating open. Master required. They also do kickback through delivery through kickbackasheville.com. So check it out. Thank you, Sovereign. We'll check in with them in a little bit. And thanks to our technical director, Morgan Beissert, as well. We're getting things working here. We're getting working tonight. And thank you to all our viewers. We really appreciate all the likes, comments, and shares. It's so good to hear the likes and all the comments from everyone. We really appreciate it. A lot of people have been asking me when the in-person open mic is going to come back, and the answer is we are watching the numbers, and we're going to wait till it's really safe to do it, but we're hoping that soon. We hope the numbers keep going in the right direction, so keep doing your part and staying safe out there and keeping everyone else safe. And we'll bring it back soon. I've also been getting asked by a lot of people about, is the online open mic going to continue once the in-person comes back? And the answer to that is maybe. Keep supporting it, share it everywhere, tell your friends about it, invite people to perform, comment a bunch, and keep supporting us. Donate if you want to, and keep supporting it, and we'll try to keep it going and keep bringing you these great featured poets and great performers from all over the place now. And that's the beauty of this thing, is that we can connect all over the world now. Quite literally. All right, cool. I'm gonna do a few poems to start us off here. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Keep it locked here. We got a great show for you. This first poem's called At Work, because I wrote it at work. The clock, circuitry and dust, drill sergeant, inspecting ranks, attentive to the air inside the glass. Under the clock, the aroma of wet leather on the first Sunday in April. Laboratory inscription bears the letters quartz, but it holds no gold. Only an idea of what time should look like and how it should sound. Rent, 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 rent. Striking a match too quickly, losing the flame. Whose idea is it anyway? Why should we rent away our lives, only to start over at midnight? On its rough face, numbers shine like hair, each waiting for its part of the minute. Everyone getting used to the time change yet? Why? All right. I got a couple more poems here. Thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate it. I see everyone getting tuned in out there. I see y'all. Really appreciate the comments. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yes. Sound all right? Good. Cool. This next poem, this is a new revision I'm working on of a prose poem called Song of a Dried Up Waterfall. It had red wolves around it, skeletal and derelict old crystal-veined rock. Corridors of mountain keep secrets of an ancient world, and wind in directions of pre-colonial trails, bear trails, before humans used them. In the still forest, darting movement in eye corners and half-heard voices. The old people who walk the trails believe in forest spirits, otherworld lights in the woods. Even I have seen the unacknowledged panther, locked eyes for a brief moment at my door. Though we cannot see where the waterfall has gone, we see where it fell from the granite side of the gorge, the waves of a river bed covered in echoes of hundred and bloody and olden and careful. When the mushrooms sprout from the decaying trees, and tiny blueberries gather the sun and become sweet from it. More appear everywhere. Once you find one more, the perfect ones, darkened by days like photo negatives. In the afternoon of well-played tricks, there will be no interruptions, but clouds and motorcycles. This next one is a found poem. Where did I put it? Oh, this is a found poem called Tattoo Room. Tattoo room for rent. Behind Denny's on Patton. Tattoo room for rent. Or could possibly do commission-based pay. Must have own equipment and be able to get health department inspection. Give us a call. Ask for Dale or Jerry. Thanks. All right. Let's see. I'm gonna do one more original here and leave you with a brief Lorca. But thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Appreciate all the comments coming in. Y'all keep them coming. We love to hear from our viewers. All right. This is called Forest Elegy, number 1. My friend told me of the 30-year-old owl whose tree died and had to be cut down. And inside the hollow of the tree, they found over 300 cat collars. All right. Yes. And as promised, I'll leave you with some Lorca. This is Canción del Naranja Seco, my translation of Song of the Withered Orange Tree. Woodcutter, cut down my shadow. Save me from the torment of seeing myself fruitless. Why was I born among mirrors? The day turns over me, and the night copies me fully in all its stars. I want to live without seeing myself, and ants and thistledown. I will dream that you are my leaves and my birds. Woodcutter, cut down my shadow. Save me from the torment of seeing myself fruitless. All right. And you've got it locked here to Poetry Open Mic Asheville, coming at you live from Asheville, North Carolina, USA, to wherever you are, anywhere in the world now, tuning in. We really appreciate it. Tap that like button, and send us some comments. Say what's up. How are you? Where are you? How you digging it? We love to hear from you. Of course, thanks to our sponsor, Sovereign Kava, technical director Morgan Beissert. My name is Caleb Beissert, your host, and our featured poet tonight is Eric Tran. Very happy to have Eric in the house. It's great to finally get him on the show. I've been a fan for a while now, and we do have the website for you to visit, and we'll post that again, but you can check it out, find more work after the reading, and check out the books. The books are very good, very good. Love these, especially that one. I mean, just fantastic stuff here. Okay. Eric Tran is a queer Vietnamese writer and a resident physician in psychiatry in Asheville, North Carolina, where he is also an associate editor at Orison Books. Shout out to Orison. His debut book of poems, The Gutter Spread Guide to Prayer, won the Autumn House Press Emerging Writers Contest. He is also the author of chapbooks Revisions and Affairs with Men in Suits. His work has been featured in Poetry Daily and Best of the Net, and appears or is forthcoming in Pleiades, Iowa Review, 32 Poems, and elsewhere. And folks, you know the drill here. Even though we can't technically hear you, well, maybe if you're loud enough we will, but wherever you are, whether you're at home, maybe in your car, in public somewhere, wearing a mask, listening, wherever you are, we want you to jump up and down and scream and shout and make a whole bunch of noise for our feature poet. Come on, give it up. There we go. Oh, I can hear you over here. Give it up for Eric Tran. Hey, Eric.
That's awesome, Caleb. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you so much for being here. It's great to have you on the mic tonight. I am excited to hear your reading, and I just wanted to just say what's up for a minute. Now, how long have you been? Now, you're from the Bay Area originally, right?
Yeah, from South Bay, California.
Oh, okay, very cool. And how long have you been in Asheville?
I've been in Asheville on and off for the past 5 or 6 years. I went to medical school in Chapel Hill, and there was a satellite campus in Asheville, so I just was commuting up and down for a couple of years, and I've been in the residency for 3 years now.
Very cool. Fantastic. Yeah. Like I said, it's great to have you on the show tonight. I understand you'll be reading some from the Gutter Spread Guide to Prayer. Great book, and some new work as well. I guess do you want to speak a little bit about the new work? I know one of the topics you're dealing with is Asian American violence, which of course is not a new thing, but there's definitely been an uptick in it, and we do send our hearts out to the families of the victims in Atlanta tonight, of course.
Definitely, I think both Gutter Spread Guide to Prayer, in particular, Gutter Spread Guide to Prayer deals with grief and loss, and also themes. And also pop culture. The manuscript I'm working on right now deals with desire and substance use. But thinking about all those things, they're not topics that occur in vacuums, right? Like, so everything about our lives sort of inform that. So what does it mean to grieve as a queer person? What does it mean to grieve as an Asian person? What does it mean to work with substance use as a queer person of color?
Right, and that's something you do as well. You're in psychiatry, and that's one of the areas you focus in is
exactly. Yeah, and in that work too, I think recognizing all the sorts of complexities in someone's identity and how that sort of molds what their experience with addiction is, because we can take sort of this cookie cutter template, which is also to say like a template developed for white people, and try to apply it to everybody, where we're just going to find that's not going to be as effective as seeing people as entire humans.
Right. It doesn't take people's personal experience and identities into account so much. Right. Yeah, I can see that. That's fascinating. So you're kind of just taking that that full experience and seeing how that that's viewed through those different lenses of grief or of challenges of being queer in this society, this country, this time.
Definitely, and we're not using these lenses to sort of figure out a problem, but to sort of really get to appreciate sort of a rich fabric.
Right. Yeah, I love that. Well, wonderful. That sounds like a good place to jump into some poetry if you're down.
Definitely.
All right. Cool. Well, Eric, I'll turn it over to you. We'll come back in a little bit, and I want to let our viewers know if you have any questions. Eric's happy to take questions, so just leave those in the comments, and we'll get to those after the reading. But without further ado, please make some noise one more time for our featured poet tonight, Eric Tran. Give it up, y'all. Thanks.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me. I've been thinking a lot more, I should say, about this idea of community, and how important it is for us to sort of connect to that, both in terms of in times of violence and isolation, but also thinking about like how when communities are removed from us, it sort of highlights how important it is. And I say that for a couple of reasons. One, obviously, because of the uptick in coverage of violence against Asian and Asian Americans in the U.S., particularly in Atlanta yesterday. But also in terms of I've been volunteering at the COVID vaccine clinic and thinking about how that itself is protecting the community too. But we'll get into some more details as we go through the reading. As Caleb said, I'm going to read some poems from my first book, The Gutter Spread Guide to Prayer, through Autumn House Press, which I encourage you to buy through your local independent bookstore or through me directly from my website at veryerictran.com. The themes of the book are, as I mentioned, grief, queerness, racial identity, but also one component is comic books, actually, because we think of comics as an escapism, but in fact, I think what it is actually sort of a sun catcher that reveals sort of the lights, the different colors within the lights that we already see. So this first poem is for the first Asian American Hulk. It's called Amadeus Cho, Totally Awesome Hulk. At first, I read Trailblazing Asian Hunk, and then maybe Thick, Amorous, Hung, and Kapow. The punchline is in the fiction. Because we can't be hung. As in, my cousin was named Hung, Vietnamese for manly, brave, and had it legally changed at 13. I'm sure you know why. Imagine, forced to forfeit what your mother gave you because of every person who's made dumb jokes about egg rolls, about eyes slanted like the eaves of buildings in the rain. I hope you've never felt that, Amy. I hope you're as terrifying, aggressive, and haughty as I devour in print, quaking the world with your steps. I wish us your thunderous, amazing haunches. Come, green man, cousin, let us be two-faced, ambitious, hungry, tactless Asian, toothy, artful, heroic, toxic, angry, hellish. One of the mentors that I had for my books was Ocean Vuong, and something that he told me that still resonates with me is thinking about your writing as writing for you, and not something that you're afraid someone else is going to read. So, in particular, writing as an Asian American man, being afraid of like, what am I allowed to write about that I'm presenting to a white audience. And in some ways, my approach was initially to think about like, if I could avoid some topics because that'll protect me from sort of whiteness. But what he advised me was actually you need to write as if whiteness is not a thing that's going to affect you, and that is where your freedom lies. Not how to work with whiteness, but to exist as if that is not the predominant force in your life. So thinking about him, this poem arose from the conversation. It's called Treatise on Whether or Not to Write the Mango. A missionary's pitch was to ask if my grandma was planning on heaven, and I was holding a box of mangoes when I couldn't think of a response more than yes and slamming the door with my right hip, because a box of mangoes can jump from your arms so eagerly. Like during a fight with my mom at the store that smelled like fish, and she said, forget them, the mangoes, because now they're sullied by ever wet footpaths and your ever shitty teenage attitude, American. Never clearer when I woke wanting mangoes instead of the rubbery jackfruit she woke at dawn to peel away from the thin white casing. And so, of course, mangoes she had waiting, chilled in the fridge after I missed family dinner, sliced tic-tac-toe because only mango flesh can yield so readily to a blade or my grandma's gums, her teeth lost to the war, her skin hued and mangoed with lack, with utter wanting for home and fist-sized yellow mangoes, though I, American, prefer the red-green ones the weight of an unwell heart, which is not the metaphor for mangoes you wanted, right? You're used to small, gentle breasts, juicy for your mouths or some shit. But advice about mango consumption, they're plucked raw, inedible, and turn against you while you sleep to mush and mangle. I'm really grateful to get to read with you all tonight. Because poetry is obviously a way for us to be in touch with the community. And I just wanted to state something kind of briefly about this idea of community is I am in some ways in community with the women who were murdered last night, but in some ways I'm not. I am an upper middle class cis man who is not an immigrant, who is not a sex worker. But I'm in community with them, not just because we're both Asian, but because I'm a queer man of color for whom desire is very important and very, in some ways, dangerous, and in many ways scrutinized by society. So this is all to say that this makes me think of Ibram X. Kendi sort of quote that I'm going to mangle right now, that I don't want any allies to show up because they think that that's the right thing to do, because that motivation will disappear and your allyship will vanish. What we need you to do is to show up because your own freedom is tied up in our freedom. And in that way, my freedom as a queer man can only exist if those women are also freed. Another example I can give is today at the vaccine clinic. I don't volunteer because it's altruistic and makes my heart happy to give people vaccines, even though it does. I show up because no one in my community is safe until everyone in my community is safe. And so with that sort of acts as a transition to some of the next poems that I have about that I wrote sort of after the Pulse nightclub shooting, which in my heart feels very similar to the massacre that happened yesterday. So this first one is called Pulse. Us in blindfold in delicious dark, done death by baseline, scouting heat with bladed tongues, breath, a scream, spun in reverse, and Lord, we holler wet down each other's necks. Rapture and rupture, every sizzled bead of black sweat, spit swollen out our skin. Oh God, make naked a flaw with climax steeping our glotted throats. Give name the hollow want to fill fat with blood. Sing us a lie. Our hearts fed thick with thrust and rhythm. Sacred fist made habit the gasp and surrender of living this soft. The last poem that I read from this book is takes a form of monastic prayer, which you would have never expected me to go with, but I found it a very moving form to work with. And it meditates on an issue of the new X-Men after a school is bombed because it teaches mutants. And sort of the frame of the poem is that the head mistress of the school is sort of looking at the school after it's been bombed. So it's called Lectio Divina, Emma Frost, New X-Men, issue 122. To her mutant students, the whole world is watching us now. We must be nothing less than fabulous. My precious rejects who wake to apocalypse, what do we lose in fire? We are born from flame, the treasure man stole from gods. Your creation thought his skin too scarred for me, but for him I carried a bag of stones to the river and witnessed his wrist flicker their weight across the water. The sun bears a gaze too and has no response. Praise it feeds and blinds, warms without so much as a single word. One of the things I really appreciated about Caleb's reading is that he read poems that were still in process and revision, and I think we underestimate how important reading aloud poems is to the work, both in terms of when you're writing it, but also, in sharing with audience. I can't tell you the number of times that I've changed phrases around just because while reading it aloud to other people, I sort of recognize where my brain wants to go versus what is on the page. This new manuscript, as we talked about with Caleb, is theoretically about substance use, about someone who I love who had substance use issues. But intersecting that, I think, is always going to be all parts of our identity: queerness, race, even my profession as a psychiatrist. Sort of reaching out and building this sort of tapestry. I think the role of poetry is never really to seek an answer, but just to sort of give us a sense of what could be there. And by sort of weaving those threads together, it gives us just a sort of like a richer texture to work with. This first poem that I'm reading from the book is self-explanatory, I'll say. It's called Commuting by the Confederate Flag on I-40. Oh, I'm sorry. The title wraps into the first line of the poem, so I'll start that again. Commuting by the Confederate flag on I-40, flown half-mast. I want to write about the suffocating enormity, but against the sky's slick skin, it dangles like a tired bandage. I don't want to forgive so easily. I want to play the angry faggot, but in truth I burn to know what grief demotes your pride, neighbor. Did you lose your son, a lover, a dog? Does it matter my best friend died and he was gay? One of the last things he said to me was, "Be nice to me, I don't feel well." I mean to say we're all so small. I'm scared for all of us to run out of gas in an unfamiliar place. You know that feeling, right? Coasting that road so slowly, hoping you'll make it home. And this poem has to deal more directly with my work as a psychiatrist. It's called Double Depression. I learn it means people prone to sadness who then develop depression. But it reminds me of a favorite Chinese restaurant, Double Happiness, where they snuck me extra fortune cookies for my loyalty, or Double Rainbow, that oversaturated miracle. What's that they say about the necessity of rain? I'm sorry, Double Depressed. I don't mean to make light of your sorrow. I mean only to say I love you as I look into the two-sided mirror and see you and then myself, as a set of bunk beds for adults, how the heart has two of each chamber, which fill and collapse in unison, a song underneath another song. One of my instincts in sort of bringing up violence against Asians and Asian Americans is to sort of have like a well thought take or pearl to give to you, which I think is already sort of a trauma response, is to sort of sublimate my own experience and sort of think about like what product can I give, what sort of productivity exists, and I don't have any because I don't want to have any. And it's also like an extraordinarily recent event that tears me up, that I still myself don't understand. And I bring that up to say like we are still we're still getting developing news on it. And one of the things was that the killer said that it was not motivated by sex, and it may very well be the case that he doesn't think that it was, but in viewing these women as sex workers of color who are poor, it gives them the ability to dehumanize them, which allows them then to do that sort of violent work. So I encourage us to think like even when we don't believe in our hearts something is racist or classist or homophobic, to think about what our actions are actually saying about it. Which leads me to this poem. It's called How My Mother Named Me. She forgets English words. To her, I live in North Coraline, even when I leave her my address on a post-it. She forgot the baby book name in the lobby because when you're screaming the name of a goddess you left overseas, you'll forget names of other folks' kids. She settled on Eric, eternal, ruler, destroyer. She hates the name, but it's fast and easy to write on form after form after form she doesn't understand. Credit to her, I could have been named ultrasound or sterile or gook or chink or dragon lady. I imagine she heard that like a mosquito bite you've scratched into scar. She wishes she had named me better in a language we no longer share. Expensive dragon, she translates, but no, not when 6 ants shared a bedroom right before my birth. Golden, like what they traded smugglers for safety, what they didn't have for food in the camps. Not that either. I would give you more examples of what keeps us apart, my soft hands, but she keeps me from those memories. Precious. That's it. Precious dragon. And I'll close on a poem that feels very local. It's called Ainger, North Carolina, which I think is a city out in eastern North Carolina, and mentions Harris Teeter, which for those of us who are not in North Carolina is one of the nicer grocery stores here. Ainger, North Carolina. I read about the winner of the Harris Teeter gift card and saw Angrier, North Carolina. A mistake small enough to slip in your pocket in the checkout line. But I admit I'm angry. 4 of my friends died this year. I would have more save the dates for wakes than weddings on my fridge if 30-year-olds did that. You maybe see now why I'm angry. My friend said he was scared to die alone, and I said he was silly instead of, let's get married then. I admit my fist has tightened around my steering wheel as if to say, I'm okay if I'm not screaming. As if to say, look at all the control I have. I admit I'm so angry that I cry at surprise proposals now. I'm so angry I write down everyone's birthday. So angry I demand unending hugs. I'm lousy and bloated with love. In anger, I apologize for not congratulating you sooner, Lisa M. of Ainger, North Carolina. I'm angry and I wish you the bounty of double coupon day, of dented cans sold for cheap. A slab of bloody roast with the most perfect marble. A flat of strawberries near spoil, right when they're sweetest. Thank you all so much for letting me share this work with you and letting me be in community with you on such a dark and stormy day as it's just started to rain. I appreciate you all more than you know.
Thank you so much, Eric. That's fantastic. Thank you, and thank you for bringing that. You know, doing some poetry and experiencing that community really helps me on these dark and rainy nights. But yeah, I love that you read that last one. Is that published? Because I've read that.
Yeah, it's on the Missouri Review poem of the week.
Okay. Were many of those new ones published already?
I think all the ones that I read have appeared somewhere. It's
Cool.
sort of the downside of taking so long to write your book is that you send them out and people take them before it becomes an actual book.
Well, I don't know. Good problem to have, I guess. At least the poems are getting taken. That's great. And I think I read the Confederate flag one too. Was that published?
Yeah, that was
Okay,
online
yeah.
in a journal called I think that's called Gertrude.
Yeah, that one jumped out at me because I know exactly where that flag is, and I think what you don't make totally clear in that poem is that flag is huge, right?
It is
Like,
gigantic, and it's so interesting that it's like this cultural touchstone for all of us. But I
yeah.
find that none of us talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, you just want to drive by and kind of get past it, right? But it's there. It's this giant reminder right there in the road. So,
And in some ways, we're in community with that flag too, like geographically. So thinking about like what that sort of means for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, these are people who put that flag up are in line with you at the Harris Teeter,
Yeah. Yeah. They're the people I'm also vaccinating.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I think, finding ways to approach that and maybe even have dialogue is a good thing. And poetry to me seems like a good form of dialogue, at least for me. I also love that you read new stuff and you talk about the reading new stuff aloud, the importance of reading new work aloud. And I know for me as a writer, that's definitely a part of the editing process. And open mics, really doing open mics have become a part of my editing process. And I've had that moment too, where I've been on stage and you change a phrase mid-reading,
And I think that's huge for, I think open mics are a lot of people who are learning poetry not through academia.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so there's a tendency, I think, to feel really self-conscious about like we need to make our poetry feel like it's erudite, it's from like the Romantic period, it's from a book
Oh
or a
yeah, of course.
textbook.
Yeah.
But like, oh no, an open mic then encourages us to think about like poetry in the language of people,
Right.
like you and me. And by reading it at an open mic, it both reestablishes that connection to like the real people community, but also then the practice of it is like this line does not sound like something someone would say.
Right. Right. Yeah. 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 How does that poetry work in the real world? Not in a textbook. And I think a lot of these poetry open mics and stuff. You may be in a room with a bunch of people who aren't poetry readers. And one of my favorite things to hear is, "Wow, I didn't know I liked poetry," or that I don't read poetry, but that spoke to me, and I think a really good poet can use that common language and not you know without falling into those
Yeah, like I definitely think that like
your work
poetry
does
should
that
not
really well.
be. I'm sorry, I think we
Hmm.
might have crossed streams a little bit.
Oh, no problem.
Um,
Sorry, go ahead.
I was thinking about your statement earlier about using poetry to create a dialogue, and I think that's sort of related here a lot. Is poetry is, I don't think, best used when it excludes anyone or alienates anyone. In fact, what poetry is suggesting is that the language that we have in our day-to-day life is insufficient to capture sort of the richness or to
Mm.
capture what we actually mean to say. And
Mm-hmm.
so in that way, like our dialogues are also insufficient. So like a poem, I think, is a perfectly fine way to feel like, well, I don't know how to talk to you in the language that we have, so let's invent
Mm-hmm.
a language for us to talk.
That's a really good point, and we're in a time where we need new language, new ways to communicate more than ever. I think, and it's true. It's like I think one of the times people will often go to poetry is in an emotional moment. Like when somebody passes, when there's killings and stuff. People turn to poetry because we don't even know how to begin to speak to that with our language. Yeah, very good point there. I love that. I think we had at least one question from a viewer, and a lot of comments here. Thanks everyone for the comments. Let's see. Andrea Fox. In the poem about your mother naming you, you mentioned the language you no longer share. I'd be interested to hear you speak more about that lost connection.
I think that's an interesting point because I think that a trope that we think about a lot is immigrant and second generations drifting away of each other, or there's a lot of guilt, I think, in the second generation
Mm.
of losing culture. But I I hesitate and I resist the word lose there, or
Mm.
lost connection, because it's not about like a failure. It's just acknowledging that something is different, right? So like
Change.
I yeah, exactly. So like I'm
Yeah.
Vietnamese and my parents came from Vietnam. The culture that I experience as a Vietnamese second generation Vietnamese American does not mean that I've lost anything about the Vietnameseness. It just means that I have this other experience in there. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and again, to tie that to this idea of poetry is like, I'm not here to unite the language of Americanness and Vietnamness. I'm here to say like there's a new language like in between those things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's a totally new experience. It's not this binary, you know, composition. It's morphs and grows and changes, and perhaps it's not a loss so much. It like something to be mourned.
Right. I mean, I think it's worth acknowledging and seeing the challenges of it, and that can lead us to mourning because I think that acknowledges a distance between people, which is always incredibly sad, right? Like I think when I was younger, I used to think like I love someone so much that I want to hug them so much that their body disintegrates into mind and we become one being. Like that's sort of my conceptualization of like how much like ideal love.
Yeah.
So distance is a barrier to that. But I think that also exists in other places too, and just the sort of language barrier is just a manifestation of that. That's very easy to see. Like I feel like even if with my friends who have parents with whom they share a language, there are cultural differences that are extremely difficult to navigate.
Right. And what can you? Do you have some examples of those from your personal experience? I mean, what are those challenges like?
I think one of them might be, I mean, even to tie it back to the things that we're talking about now is the anti-Asian and Asian American violence, in some ways can be difficult to talk about with the generation before us, because as very brilliant people who read history are sharing with us, it wasn't until 1952 that it became illegal to refuse to sell land to Asian people. So like even the generation above us just had different standards and different ways of navigating the world.
Wow. Fascinating. Yeah, I guess that's a challenging dialogue to open up, just because of how things are talked about differently now, I guess. Yeah,
but I mean, challenging, yes, but also like a rich place, because I think that leads to a conversation about like change.
Right. Not challenging in the sense that it should be shied away from or anything.
Sure.
Sure. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I get that. Well, that's cool, and it seems like you're sort of taking all of this head on in your work, and I definitely look forward to the new manuscript coming out when that becomes a book. And I am so glad you read from the Gutter Spread tonight, because there's some fantastic stuff in there, and I hope all of our readers, if you don't own it, viewers, if you don't own it already, become a reader of Eric Tran and enjoy the books. You can find these on the website. We'll blast that again for you there. And, of course, you can always find them at your local independent booksellers, at least here in Asheville. I know Malaprops has your books, and maybe some other places, too. And of course, you can buy them directly from Eric, too. So yeah. Support our featured poet. And, Eric, thank you so much for being here tonight. I've really enjoyed our discussion, and I really hope we can do this again in the future sometime.
Yeah. Thanks again for having me, Caleb. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Everybody out there, make some noise one more time for Eric Tran. Give it up. Thank you, Eric. All right, and you're tuned in here to Poetry Open Mic Asheville. Wow, fantastic reading from Eric. I just want to sit and talk with him all night. But anyway, loved that, and I know y'all did too. We have a bunch of comments here from Eric, and we're going to move on to our open mic portion of the night now. We have Ashley Huber in the house up next. And let's see. Then we have Keaton Griffin in the house. Good to see Keaton. Then we're gonna check in with the Kava bar and say what's up to the folks down there. We might even have a performance from Sovereign tonight, and then we have Elizabeth Marino joining us for the first time tonight. We always love welcoming new friends. And then we have the great Christopher T. George, the great Jason Huber, Justin, Emilio, and there's a couple of extra spots if anyone else wants to sign up tonight. Go ahead and get it while the getting's good. We'll post that StreamYard link. And keep it locked here, because we have a lot more good stuff coming at you tonight. All right. Poetry. Yes. poetry here in Asheville from wherever you are. We got Ashley Huber in the house next. Let's see if we can get Ashley beamed in here. Y'all know what to do. Go ahead and make a whole bunch of noise for Ashley Huber.
Hello.
Hey, Ashley. Hey.
How are you?
I am doing well. It's good to see you. How are you this week?
I am well. That was an amazing performance. I was glued to it the entire time. It was
Absolutely.
Loved it.
Yeah,
And
same here. Glad you enjoyed it. Say what?
Oh, I graduated criminal justice with an emphasis on victimology last May, and then obviously COVID happened, and so I am currently on pause on going into it, but a lot of my past experiences played into. I'm actually going to do a short excerpt from a novel I wrote when I was a teenager, and I have revised, and I'm still revising. I might even change something mid-read because I do that too.
Right,
Yeah. I've had my own experience with violence. I lost a classmate to a murder, and my godfather was killed when I was 10. And so this is kind of like, it's a little dark, but it is one of the ways that I dealt with that experience and those experiences. Another reason why I love horror movies, and this kind of had a bit of that vibe to me. So,
yeah. All right. Well, wow. I'm excited to hear it. Thank you so much for reading tonight, Ashley. And we'll go ahead and turn it over to you. Everyone, give it up one more time for Ashley Huber.
Thank you. Thank you. Again, this is just a short portion of the story. I'm going to start kind of in the middle. Every night, my family and I would spend dinner together. My father would tell us about his day at school teaching. I would tell mine. My mother would tell us about the many dust bunnies she uncovered throughout the day. It was Sunday night, my parents out, my turn to make dinner and set the table. I enjoyed nights where I got to make dinner. Might not be good at it, but it was fun. I set the table, made the tea, and waited. I sat smiling, so when they walked in, we would be ready. I sat there, never taking that smile away from my face. Hours went by, and I still sat there. I went over my head where my parents had been, but I never thought anything was wrong. It was about 10 at night when there was a knock on the door. I knew it was my parents. It had to be my parents. I opened the door to find Jeff McCabe, the sheriff. He had that "I'm so sorry" look on his face. I just closed the door. I fell to the ground. Jeff opened the door, found me in a ball with a smile on my face. I couldn't get the smile off. My heart was turning to ashes, and I had that damn grin on my face. "How old were you?" Miss Graham asked. 17. "Was it hard to lose your parents?" It's hard for anyone to lose their parents, especially when they love them so much. It was hard for you when you lost your father, wasn't it, Miss Graham? She looked up. "How did you know my father was dead?" "You're wearing a mason ring. It's not very tarnished, so I assumed it was your father's." "It is. You're very observant. How didn't you know? I just didn't buy it at a garage sale." She wanted to trip me up. That's essentially her job, isn't it? "You wouldn't wear such a bulky ring if it didn't have meaning to you. You have very small fingers, and your other rings are small." She spun the ring on her finger. "So how did your parents die?" "Car accident. Someone ran a stop sign, plowed right into my mother's side. The car flipped over and my father was stuck there in pain for hours. He died on the way to the hospital." "Does thinking about your parents make you angry?" "I wasn't angry at them. They didn't run the stop sign." I gritted my teeth. "Did you ever find out who did it?" "Matt Tablin. He graduated from school years before all of this. He fell asleep at the wheel. He didn't even know he was driving." "How did you feel when you found out it was him?" "I didn't know what to think. I was only a kid. I had just lost my parents. It never really did sink in, not all the way at least. I spent days in bed, and while I was in bed, I began to think about what I would say to Matt. Would I scream at him? Would I cry with him? I went to his house about a week after he killed my parents. When he answered the door, he seemed more afraid to see me than me him. "Walter," Matt said with a tremble in his voice. "Matt?" I looked at him. He looked terrible. His shirt was half tucked, and judging by his pants, they hadn't been washed in quite a while. His greasy hair was matted over his eyes, and a cigarette hanging off his lips. "Can I come in?" "Walter, I'm not sure that's a good idea." He looked like he was going to crack into 100 pieces, and I kind of wanted to see that. "Matt, I'm not mad at you. Actually, I feel for you. You can help falling asleep." I smiled at him. He took a second, looking at me, apparently doubtful of my kindness. Okay." He stepped away from the door, and I walked in. His house was a hunter's haven. Deer heads on the wall, a stuffed bear greeted you in the living room, the smell of leather everywhere. Matt wiped his forehead. "So are you here?" Matt seemed more and more addled simply by my presence. I sat down in an overstuffed leather chair. Matt stood by the doorway. "I just wanted to talk to you. I think I deserve that. It's really been hard." His heart got very heavy, just like his tone. "It has been for me. I wanted you to know that I am so sorry. I never meant to kill your parents." I could see he was truly sorry. "I know, Matt, I know." "Do you think I could get a drink?" I asked. Yeah, sure." He went to the kitchen. "Is scotch all right?" he yelled out. "It's just fine." I hadn't expected the offer of scotch, but I surely wasn't going to pass it up. I looked around. I didn't know what to feel. Part of me really did feel for him, and the rest of me wanted to run him over. I went to the hallway and looked at pictures of Matt. Him when he was a baby, a toddler, one of his parents. I wondered how he would have felt if his parents were hit by a car, died. Matt came in with the drinks. "Hey, where are you?" Suddenly, Matt's eyes widened. He let out a silent scream, fell to his knees, then his face. The axe wedged into his head. "The axe?" "Yes, an axe, Miss Graham." I gave a slight grin. I was enjoying this. She took a moment. "Why did you kill him with an axe?" "I really don't know, actually. I remember looking at pictures, and the next thing I saw Matt on the ground." "What did you do after that?" she asked. I panicked, put a sheet over him, and I contemplated whether or not to call the police. But I also started to feel it. "Feel what?" "It. That power." "You felt good killing him?" she asked. Honestly, I felt sick to my stomach. I felt guilt rushing up my body. I felt fear coming over me. But yet, somewhere deep inside, I was like a little boy jumping on Christmas morning. "When you were looking at the pictures of Matt, did you feel angry?" "Honestly, I don't remember feeling anything. I just kept thinking about what happened to my parents. I did think about his mother and father dead, so maybe I trailed off in memory." "So what did you do afterwards?" "I sat on the chair looking at the body for an hour when I decided to bury it. I waited till dark, and I started digging a hole. I loved shoveling every bit of it. After digging, I dragged Matt out and placed him in the hole. I covered it up and went back into the house. I was filthy as my actions, and I took a shower, dressed in his Sunday best, and then I made myself dinner. As I was eating, I realized I could still be caught. If they ever found this body, I would be to blame. Again, fear hit me like a truck. I vigorously started cleaning. After I was satisfied, I went home and I went to bed." "How did you sleep that night?" she asked. "I slept like a baby." "What happened when the police found him?" "For about a week, they thought Matt had just gone on a hunting trip. No one expected anything. Then after a week, they started looking the hunting sites, even searched his house. They came up with nothing. So they just decided he was MIA?" She seemed surprised. I was surprised myself. I was sure I was going to get caught. I was prepared for it, but it never happened. "So what happened?" she asked. "I just went on with normal life. Never thought twice about what happened. But I got bored with the small town. Everybody knows everybody. A town that small, there's no silence. I want a place as noisy enough to compete with me. I packed up and left. Where did you go? I went to Chicago. I looked out the windows to see the tall buildings. We worship these phallic symbols, not realizing they only make us weaker when people want to feel strong. Why Chicago? I thought to myself. I turned back. The filth. The what? Miss Graham asked. I wanted the dirty, big city life, and Chicago was my first choice. I loved the history of Chicago. The blood spilled on Chicago streets? It's startling. So, I want to hear about your experience in Chicago. Did you know anybody? I didn't know anybody, and I actually quite liked that. I was alone. I got a small apartment on the east side. Nobody thought twice about me. They found it strange a country boy placed right in that part of town, but they left me be. There was only one woman, though. My filthy of a body landlady who never left me alone. Mrs. Jones, I know you're busy, but are you sure you don't want to accept this Bible? I would love it if you would read a few pages for me. She sweated profusely as she talked, her fat slapping against itself, and her breath smelled of rotting garlic. Her hair was always in curlers, but she didn't have enough hair to curl. She wore the ugliest pastel blue house dress and these small little shoes that pinched and swelled her feet. The apartments weren't spectacular either. The wallpaper was the same color as Mrs. Turner's house dress and peeling off, and the whole place smelled like mold and fried food. I'm very sorry, Mrs. Turner, but I don't have time. I would try to make my way up the stairs, but she just kept cornering me. You don't have time for God, Mr. Jones? She laughed. There's always time for God. Why do you feel the need to sell God? I thought. They treat him more like a commodity than Lord and Savior. I kept calm and smiled at her. Mrs. Turner, if it pleases you, for me to read a few, I would be happy to. She was shocked. She didn't expect me to accept. Well, Mr. Jones, here you go. She handed me her Bible. I smiled, took the Bible, headed upstairs. Is that all that happened, Miss Graham? Interrupted. Miss Graham, if you interrupt me, that's all that can happen. I'm sorry, she said. Please continue. Later that night, I was in my room. I like to sit up at night and look at the shapes on the grains of wood, kind of like finding puppy dogs in clouds. I still held the Bible in my hands with no intention of reading it. I hated this thought of the woman and her trying to sell me on God. It was midnight when I heard a scream. Uninterested, I spotted a unicorn in my oak door, but my concentration was broken by another muffled scream. I strolled down the stairs to see Mrs. Turner half in and halfway out of her apartment. She was red from head to toe. Please, help me. She stuttered and coughed. I stood there looking at her. I stood there for a long time looking at her now plum face. I knew I easily could save her life, but I didn't. I stood there watching her choke. She reached out to me. I knelt down beside her. You know, Mrs. Turner, looks like I won't be able to read this after all. I placed the Bible beside her and went back to the stairs. I sat down and watched her. It took her hours to stop crying and gasping. Once the life had been taken away from her, I went back to my room. I laid in bed and tried to find the unicorn again, but it was lost. I was woken in the morning by a loud knock. When I opened it, I saw two officers. Mr. Jones, I'm Lieutenant Dan, and this is Lieutenant Martins. I noticed him looking up and down to decide what type of person I was. Yes, sir. Can I help you? Miss Turner was your landlady, right? Lieutenant Martin asked. Was? Is she all right? My face shifted itself to a very sad look. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Jones, but she passed away last night. Oh my God, what happened? Lieutenant Martin got his notebook out almost as if he had forgotten the cause. She choked to death. Looks like she tried to get out of the door for help, but didn't make it. Even had her Bible in her hands when she died. He gave a sigh. She tried to get help? I didn't even hear anything. That's horrible. I took a few steps back for dramatics. I even felt sorry for myself. It's not your fault. Sometimes these things can't be prevented, Lieutenant Dan stated. That's a small portion. I think I might have went slightly over 10 minutes, but thank you.
All right, thank you, Ashley. Appreciate it. Thank you for sharing tonight. And yeah, it's always good to hear from you. Hope you can make it next time.
Definitely. Thank you.
Always. Everybody give it up one more time for Ashley Huber. Awesome. Yes, good stuff, y'all. Okay, we're rocking and rolling here. Thanks. We got some comments here from for Ashley. I want to make sure we get to those. Excellent. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Cool. Yay. Yay for Ashley. Cool. All right, we're going to keep moving along here. Thanks again to our featured poet tonight, Eric Tran, of course. And we got that link to the work in the comments there, so check that out as well. And of course, thanks to our sponsor, Sovereign Kava, tonight. And everyone tuned in. We really appreciate all the likes, comments, and shares. Thank you for those. And we are gonna keep rolling here. And let's see what we got. Up next, we have our good friend Keaton in the house with us tonight. I'm very excited, and let's see if we can get Keaton connected on the screen here. So you know what you got to do: jump up and down, scream and shout, and make a whole bunch of noise for Keaton. Give it up! Hey, what's up, man?
Testing, testing.
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear me?
Can you
hear me? You can't hear. We can hear you. So I'll turn it over to you if you just want to read the poems.
Hello, hello, hello.
Yeah, we can hear you. Wait, you still there?
Hello, Caleb?
Yeah.
Oh, so you can hear me.
Yeah.
The video's not picking up.
Oh,
but that's okay. If you can still hear me, I'll just go ahead. If that's okay.
Yep, cool.
Yeah, I'm not getting any video feedback, but just give me one last sign. Just give me one last sign to go ahead. Oh, we can see him. Okay. Well, if you can see me, that's all that matters, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Caleb just messaged me, said read the poems. So it looks like my connection is a little lagging here, but it doesn't matter if I can see you guys as long as you can figure out what I'm doing here. So I got 4 quick and easy poems. Thank you to those who have come before, Ashley and Caleb and Eric. That was really meaningful, and I can't help but think that I'm really grateful that there are people like you in the world to help make sense of these kind of things. So here we go. The first poem is called Song for the Resilient Farmer. I wrote this while in college. I was working with my grandfather in the summers on the farm, and this was a poem that helped me try to make sense of what I really felt like, where I really felt my purpose in life lied. So here we go. It's called Song for the Resilient Farmer. Cultivator, take the concrete below our feet. Make plain the fields my eyes have long since seen. Where the lore of letters so vital, I have succumbed to arid protest, and some animals can be cold whenever I try to pet them. I wish to rely as the farmer and mindlessly bleed as the given day's work pours out of all that we once believed in. Cultivator, take the concrete below my feet. Make plain those breezy fields my eyes have long since seen. Okay, that's the first one. Second poem is called When Friends Go. The looking glass is not so fun, just reflections of old skeletons. And what that means to you is how the likes of me are seen. So many have left for home, in so much time and unforgiving time. Folks without needs for guns beside our little country perimeter. If now is about time to make amends, I'd rather be on the run with friends. And that was just dealing with moving back home when a lot of my friends were moving away and having different aspirations. So, okay, third poem. It's called Unconstrained Underground, and this deals with being fascinated by the mysticism and the occultism that had belonged to our founding fathers. So it's called Unconstrained Underground. It's understood a few 18th century voices were heard down inside the dark tunnels near Philadelphia, where faint spirits whispered of their frolicking under sacred lands of North America. A series of hallways therein lit dimly had one exit for all to come and leave by, though every branching room was lavish, with no doors to hide behind or lock. A new machine was used to eavesdrop on conversations of the enlightened folks. In an age of reason, crude arrowheads formed new ideas about a once-old world. A pair of circular glasses were preserved in a room full of lotus-embroidered quilts. Scribbled hemp paper sheets lie messy and unfit in a desk drawer labeled Apollo's Worst Fear. A human skull lie perched atop a pyramid, forged of golden bricks with engravings of men and women, now spirits in search of liberty, which some still say cannot be found here above ground. And the last poem I've got for you is called Blue Oakeny Bell. And the precursor is a quote by Corita Kent, and it's flowers grow out of dark moments. And it's a very kind of old school romantic poem. I'm still really working through this one. It's pretty brand new in some ways. Trying to figure out how to work through this one. But anyway, here we go. How could one pluck a blue oakeny bell, steal her petals over spells of chagrin, exposing roots mistaken as thorns to sell? Oh, what to do with that lovely growing grin. I clasped too hard with clumsy thumbs, a gentle set of fingers she hoped had come. Such a rare beauty to behold and succumb. How could one deprive their muse of the sun? Prepared she was for a cold ensuing fall. Panic plucked, turned away to flee, but stumbled and fell, faded back to a crawl. What a child her grace much think of me. Among a barren forest, a wildflower rests. Of her healing petals, I pray yet to smell. Dance for her reign, never again protest. I hope you forgive me, O bluest oakeny bell. And that's all I've got for you. I hate that it has to end on that note, but I can't hear anything that Caleb's saying. So, yeah. Anyway, thank you for your time.
Good work.
I'll try to get this figured out a little bit better for next week.
Yeah, sorry for the tech difficulties. It usually works pretty
now
well.
I see you moving around, Caleb, but I still can't hear a word you're saying, so I apologize. But I'll just end on that note. Thank you so much for having me.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks, Keith.
First time I've done this in a while, so yeah, it feels really good. But anyway, I'll see you guys later.
Sounds good. Y'all give it up one more time for Keaton. Well, it's a bummer he couldn't hear me telling him that we enjoyed it, and good reading. Really nicely read, and good work there. So thanks, Keaton. Hope you'll join us again. And, of course, we got Morgan in the wings, so we'll check in with him. We'll see if we can get that tech issue figured out for next time. Because it's always good to be able to say hi to our performers. But hey, we heard the poetry, and that's what matters. And we're going to keep rolling here because we got more good stuff coming at you. Yes, indeed, some comments there for Keaton. Thank you. Thank you so much, Keaton. Very good. It's good to see you on the mic. I like it. I like people getting up on the mic. And you can get on the mic too. Just follow our StreamYard link, or you can sign up down at the Sovereign Kava bar. Speaking of which, our sponsor, Sovereign Kava, is in the house tonight. We're gonna check in with Sovereign and see what's going on down there. I think you got a little bit of time left to get drinks. Anyway, and if you're performing tonight, you do get a free double shot. So check it out, Kava. Make some noise. It's Sovereign Kava, y'all. What's up?
Hey,
It's Madrano.
How you
Doing
Caleb?
well. We're doing
We
good.
keep
How are
meeting this way. I
Say
feel like
what?
we keep meeting this. I feel like we keep meeting this way.
Yeah, I know. It's such bizarre times. This is like this is how we're hanging out these days, you know?
Yeah.
This is like the bar now. We sit here and we
What's the virtual joint that you pass? Like, is there a way to pass a virtual joint at a virtual open mic? I'm probably inappropriate.
You have, well, the only difference is instead of the left, you have to pass it to the right because everything's mirror vision on this.
There you go. Well, this is as good a time as any to announce last call at the Kava bar. Last call.
Last call at the Kava bar, so get them Kavas in.
The performers have been amazing. Keaton, you rocked. That was great.
Right?
And yeah, you know, I it's weird when you're behind the bar and you don't interact with the community out with them, like because of the pandemic. I don't, you know, it's been a different relationship. I had no idea, you know. So that was freaking awesome. Loved it. So good.
I know. Yeah, everyone's been fantastic tonight.
And Eric Tran, right? Eric Tran? Yes,
Eric Tran, our feature poet. Absolutely incredible. Yeah.
Our Patreon and fund Keely and her friend Ann said that my voice and his voice were similar.
Really?
I don't know. I didn't hear it.
Sounds good to me.
I feel the San Francisco and the New York accent are very different, but you know, what can you do? Have a great mic, Caleb. Have a great mic, all the performers. Thank you for being on the show. Let's do a shot. I got one right here.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. And everyone else can stop in and get your shot too down at
come on down. We got about 10 minutes left. I'll close in about 10 minutes.
Next week we're gonna start with one performer from the bar. We'll have a socially distanced setup down there.
That's true. Yeah.
For someone to join in. So cheers to more open mics.
Cheers.
And Sovereign Kava. Cheers.
Tastes like something. Like Kava.
Like something.
Tastes like Kava.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very earthy.
Very earthy. All right.
Thanks for dropping by tonight. Yeah. Everyone, check him out at Sovereign Kava. Thanks, Madrano. We'll see you next time. Give it up for Madrano. Yes! Bye. And tip your barkeeps. It's good form. Good karma. Good stuff. And you've got it locked here to Poetry Open Mic Asheville. My name is Caleb Beissert. It is always a pleasure to be your host here each and every Wednesday night. We have some more fantastic poets and other performers coming at you. So definitely keep it locked. Hey, well, that's good. Good for you. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Kava. Yes. Kava is a relaxing beverage from the South Pacific Islands. A lot of people use it as a supplement to treat stress and anxiety, muscle tension, things like that. You know, sleep. Which you know, people can use some help with in these times sometimes. Anyway, get your Kava there. Anyway, of course, as he said, thanks again to our feature poet tonight, Eric Tran. It was such a lovely reading, and I hope you all will go on the website and buy Eric's books and keep up with him. He's got a new one coming out, too. You'll definitely want to check out. All right. We got more performers coming at you here on Poetry Open Mic Asheville. Keep it locked right here. Up next on the mic, we have Elizabeth and then Christopher and Jason and Emilio. Let's see. Yes, I think we have Elizabeth here. Elizabeth, you ready to go? Let's see if we can get Elizabeth connected. You'll have to jump up and down and make some noise, though. So, let's do it. Everyone, give it up for Elizabeth Marino. Hey, Elizabeth.
Hey! Hello, Asheville!
Hi, Asheville's cheering for you.
I am so excited. This is the first open mic I can use the word furrow and have reasonably understand that the audience will understand it. The word is, and as a metaphor. I can't stand it. This is just too much.
It's great, right?
Okay.
Well, thank you for joining us. I'm so happy you're here tonight to participate in the open mic with us. And are you joining us from Chicago tonight?
Yes, I am. I'm joining you from Chicago. I can see the lake from here. It's just right behind me.
Oh, cool.
And
yeah.
East side of Chicago is the lake. So,
okay.
So
I'm a little bit familiar.
straight.
I've been there a couple times. Yeah, but I love the Chicago poets of Chicago performers. And so glad
great.
you could join us. Yeah. So
Well,
are you sharing poetry tonight, or what do you have for
Yes,
us?
I've got a new book out, so I'm carrying two
cool.
pieces from the new book and then one brand new piece. I want to hear.
Great. Well, please,
sounds like.
after you get done reading, be sure to drop the link in the comments where people can find your book. Because
Got it.
we love
Got it.
to help.
Yeah,
promote,
Amazon.
promote
It's all
literature.
over. All over this.
Okay,
I appreciate
cool.
it. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so
Okay.
much, Elizabeth. I'll turn it over to you. Everyone, give it up one more time for Elizabeth.
Hi. First one is called Furrow. Many fields lie fallow, waiting. The hand lingers over the pulse from the rounded belly. Even when the potential is there, the mystery remains. No perfect child will unfurl tiny fingers here. It goes to the heart of who we are and beyond. Imaging seeks and finds one intact ovary. The other hides behind fists of gristle and blood. The hand lingers over the pulse from the rounded belly. Belly and hand are mine. Many fields lie fallow, waiting. I am legion. The next is the title poem from the collection. It's called Asylum. Asylum. Another sleepless night, and my remote takes me to Charlie and his blue plastic boat shared at St. Vincent Orphan Asylum in Chicago. His hair was wondrously full, and he made my belly laugh as we waited and drifted. The dormitory cribs were far different from the blue vinyl mats on the concrete floor, the woman's wing of the shelter, each places of shelter and transit, and end time at any time. And I see these pictures of the children stacked up like cordwood, relatively safe in their Texas detention camps, compared to the Pakistani children stacked up like cordwood in ox carts after a drone attack. It's difficult to shut off the images on the screen of the mind's eye. The browser sticks and keeps refreshing itself. In the morning, I must go out the door and decide to be alive. And as I said, those two were from the new book. And this is the new piece. Where are you from? Where are you from? I am a poet from Chicago. If music can be carried place to place and one constantly moves, it's hard to hold what is needed. Objects drop from my hands. I am from the Americas. You say you have people here. Home to home, each time something is lost and almost replaced, a drumbeat continues. Things gathered up and held to the bosom slips through fingers as you set down objects. Everything does fall away in spite of holding tight in a long reach. Music can be carried place to place, a melody holding a footfall, a half-remembered lyric reasserts itself differently each time. A drumbeat continues. You say you have people here. Music can be carried place to place. Yellow shaka forsythia bush erupts in front of a red brick two-flat. A cobblestone stamped Illinois brick under your feet. I am from the Americas. Music can be carried place to place. A last full blossom on the peony bush. The blink of spring. The shock of stillness on the edge of eternity. That carousel, the turning called a revolution of the lost musical cake server. Thank you.
Elizabeth, thank you. That was fantastic.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah,
my pleasure.
Really incredible work there. Yeah. I think we will have to check out the book and enjoyed the new work as well. And I must say all the forsythia here in Asheville is blooming right now. It's beautiful.
Oh no, really? We just had snow 2 days ago.
Yeah, I don't know. We might have more here. You just never know. It's been about 60 degrees here, so no snow lately. Yes, but I know things are a bit colder and windier in Chicago. But yeah. Well, thank you for coming through tonight. Really
welcome.
Fantastic work, and I do hope you'll come back and join us again in the future. We're here every Wednesday.
Oh, it would be my pleasure. I would love to.
Wonderful.
And 4 furrows. You understood furrows. I'm just so happy.
Yeah. Totally. Loved it.
You don't realize you go into a bar open mic and use the word furrows and get people are like, I should remember what that word is.
No, it's good. It's good. We we have a bright audience for sure. Yes. So thank you so much, Elizabeth, and I hope to see you next time. Cool.
Okay, thank you.
Everyone give it up one more time for Elizabeth. Yes. Great stuff there. Great stuff. Very good. For us. I like that word. Anyway, yes, Chicago coming through tonight. And I think we got another Chicago poet, Emilio Maldonado, on here in just a little while as well. But first, I think we have Christopher T. George up next and Jason Huber. I do want to make sure we blast these comments real quick. We got some comments here for Elizabeth, and we love hearing from our viewers, so please keep the comments coming. Share this. And invite your friends. We do this every week, and we love for people to come share their poetry or whatever form your expression takes. We're happy to lend an ear and provide a space for that community and that sharing here each and every Wednesday night, live from Asheville to wherever you may be in the world. We really appreciate y'all. All right. Speaking of wherever, we got Delaware in the house up next. It's always good to have Delaware with us. It's actually Liverpool via Delaware. Our good friend, poet, writer, historian, Christopher T. George. Everybody make some noise for Christopher. Give it up. All right. Good evening.
Hi there, Caleb.
Hey.
All right.
What's up, Christopher? How are you doing?
All right, good.
Good.
Going to do something a bit different tonight. I'm going to read you a story about Ireland instead of poetry that I usually do.
Very cool. Okay. Now, do you have some Irish in your ancestry?
On my mother's side, yeah.
Yeah, most likely, right? Yeah.
The Matchetts were from Newry in Northern Ireland, and I've been there in connection with my War of 1812 research. I went there first in 1992, and so I really feel at home there.
Wow, and it's so cool that you can trace that lineage.
Yeah,
back to that family in Ireland.
Yeah,
that's amazing. Yes.
The family name is Matchett, and my cousin had this wild idea that it was French. It sounds French, but there's any amount of Matchetts in Northern Ireland.
Right.
So, and in fact, also in connection with my War of 1812 work, there was a Richard Matchett who was a private in the militia in the defense of Baltimore. So I'm probably related to him.
Huh. That's interesting. Yeah, that's it's kind of like my last name, which I know is German, but a lot of people read it as French. But I come to find out my dad's side of the family was from the part of Germany that switched sides. Over the years. So
sure,
could have been French originally. Who knows?
Very good.
But yeah. Anyway, love talking about history with you. Well, very good. And I see, and you got your green on tonight.
That's right. Yep.
Very good. I don't have my green on, but I'm safely at home where no one can pinch me. I don't know. That was a thing when I was a kid in school. If you didn't wear green in school, people could pinch you.
Okay.
But I don't consent. So.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. All right. Well, very good. Happy St. Patty's Day to you, and we'll turn it over to you now for the story. And everybody out there, give it up for Christopher T. George.
This is a poem, what am I saying? It's a story that I wrote in the 1980s when the Troubles were still going on in Ireland. It's called The Field of Shamrocks. They had seen the Giant's Causeway together, he and Mam and Da, and the boy had dangled his toes in the cold, clear ocean and gazed down at the brown, swaying, mysteriously long seaweed called kelp, and at the black dotty clusters of snail-like winkles, while he'd sat on one of the six-sided columns of black basalt, and the sea breeze had played in his face, and Mam, with flashing blue eyes, had told the tale of how the causeway was built by the Irish giant Finn McCool to get at his rival over the sea in Scotland. That was the story, though his father, the day's news of the bombings in Belfast on his mind, said that the real unembroidered truth was that a volcano had erupted and flowed into the sea, and the flow had cooled into the identical six-sided prisms of rock 20 inches wide, like the one that provided seat enough for his bottom in his charcoal grey school shorts. But in secret, Mam and he knew that Phil McCool had truly lived, that he'd waded thunderously in the tremendous, impossibly large boots, fierce of breath and fierce of eye, out into the waves across to far-off Scotland. And hadn't they proof? Hadn't they visited the well just beyond the village under the lip of the towering cliff of sheer granite, where the giant has stuck his thumb to slake his thirst with cool mountain water before beginning his journey. And didn't his mind often return to that summer day when, laughing in the yellow sun, he and Mom had run back and forth, chasing up the clumps of shamrocks under the ponderous face of rock, making nosegays fit for a giant or just for a mother and child? It all seemed so long ago. Now Mam lay in hospital in Derry, where the boy had gone to see her the night before, pressing his face and hands to a glass panel beyond which she lay in a type of tent, her face white on the pillow, her red hair in a scatter over the white linen pillow cover. An infection of the womb, Dar said, brought on when she'd lost what was to be his baby brother. Now he sat in his bedroom, kneeling on his own pillow, looking out of the window, the condensation on the diamond panes, the silent street below him bathed in the orange light of the sodium lights. Earlier, Dad had yelled at the news on the telly. There were pictures again of lads throwing rocks at the British soldiers. For here in Northern Ireland there was, as Dad made clear, us and them. And always throughout the news, Dar would yell about them, just as when the news wasn't on, he'd shudder about them. Then, when the news was over, Top of the Pops came on, with all the top pop music groups, and Dar began to rail instead at a man in lipstick called Boy George. The boy thought Boy George must be one of them. Looking out of the cold window at a lone cyclist wavering up the road in a flat tweed cap, headlight flickering, the boy wondered what he could take Mam when he visited her again tomorrow, Friday. The cyclist struggled up the hill toward the pub, pedaling along next to the low red brick wall where the boy had looked over one summer and found those terrific big green caterpillars that he'd put in a jam jar with a leaf until they'd begun to smell and Dar had thrown them out. And he remembered how last winter a man was found shot next to the wall, and policemen and soldiers had come and put canvas screens round the body, and he'd looked out at night and seen the wall illuminated by bright white lamps. He knew now what he'd do. Tomorrow after school ended at 4 o'clock, instead of coming straight home, he would go up to the Giant's Well and pick a bouquet of shamrocks to take to Mam. There'd be just enough time between the end of class and the time he had to be home for tea before they left for the hospital. With luck, Dar wouldn't miss him. But there was a problem with that plan. The lane leading to the well, way up on the high side of town under the cliff, was controlled by several families of them. They guarded it as if it was a shrine, which in a way the boy knew it was. The boy gnawed his lip, staring out of the damp orange-lit window, trying to resolve the problem. As it was only one way, he'd have to circle round the fields and approach the well that way. It would take much longer, but it was the only alternative. So the next day, when the bell rang, he snatched up his satchel and was away up the road from the school. He crossed, wary of the occasional speeding car or lorry, his sandals scraping the loose pebbles, damp from the afternoon's rain showers. He squeezed through the stile in the dry stone wall and was soon slithering across the field, the sheep scattering out of his way. He wished he didn't have to travel to the well this way, but he really couldn't see any alternative. Once when he was little, by mistake, he had pedaled his tricycle up the lane leading to the well. He hadn't even known about the well then. One of them, a lad a few years older than he was, with bright red hair and a vast smatter of freckles across his face had stopped him. "Where you going, Sonny Jim?" The lad had leered. He was wearing a maroon school uniform from a church school. The boy wasn't yet old enough to go to school. "You'd better get back on your to your people, laddie. We don't want your kind round here." A gaggle of other laughing lads had gathered round, eyes all fixed on him. And as he stood immobilized, the freckled lad grasped his tricycle by the handlebars and flung bike and rider to the ground, laughing coarsely with his pals. The freckled lout had badly skinned the boy's knees, torn his shorts, and bent the wheel of his tricycle frame. Somehow, through the tears, the pain, the humiliation, the boy had found his way home. The cliff under which the well lay was beginning to loom ahead. The wind was lifting his quiff off his forehead. He was hot walking, and he'd stuck his school cap in his satchel with the jam jar he brought to carry the shamrocks back. He negotiated a hedge, hawthorn spines whipping into him and tearing his blazer sleeve. Ah, bloody things. At the sound of his voice, a rabbit bolted from the hedge. Ahead, the sun was sinking in the west. He was going to be late for tea. His legs were like lead as he dragged himself wearily through a gap in the last wall and could look down on the red roofs of the cottages where the Them families lived. Ha! He'd have the last laugh on the blighters. He had a view down on their tiny cottages, just as the giant Finn McCool himself might have had. Oh, sure, he sighed to himself. If only Finn McCool was alive now to sort things out. Old Finn would solve all their problems, everyone's troubles. He'd often wished he could have Finn McCool with him to settle his score with the freckled lad. The giant's well lay in front of him, under the lip of the granite overhang, and there were the clumps of shamrocks, just as he'd remembered them from when he'd come here with Mam. He dipped the jam jar, it still had the strawberry jam label affixed, into the cold, pure water of the well, then set the jar on a flat rock. He clutched the scissors he'd brought from home, bent to cut the first choice shamrocks. The vivid green tendril-type clover fitted in the curve of his hand, small three-leafed stems lapping over fingers inky from schoolwork. He recalled how Mam had related that when St. Patrick landed at Wicklow Head to bring Christianity to Ireland, he plucked a shamrock from the ground and asked the Irish natives, "Is it not as possible for the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost as for these three leaves to grow on a single stalk?" So showing them that the Holy Trinity, though three, is also one. He went clipping from clump to clump, seeking out the most perfect shamrocks. Before long, he had gathered up a good bunch of them that he'd be proud to give to Mam and should look fine at her bedside. A nosegay that might even, he hoped, bring a smile to her white, wearied features. He was admiring the shamrock in the crystal jam jar when suddenly he heard a noise. He swung round in the direction of the cottages, thinking one of them might be coming up after him, having seen him pick their shamrocks. But no one was striding angrily up the slope. He heard the noise again. It was coming from the direction of the cliff. For an alarming moment, the hairs on the back of his neck froze, and he thought it might be the bloody giant, Finn McCool himself, rising to punish him for stealing the shamrocks from his well. But no, there was no crashing of rocks, no earth-shattering tread, no ear-sundering bellow. The noise came again, smaller than his fear-magnified imagination had thought it. It came from under the grey, gaunt crag, which rose dark and looming now that dusk was coming on. A rabbit or a bird, perhaps? Cautiously, he crept toward the evident sound, afraid to penetrate the shadow beneath the outcrop. Then, Jesus! A claw of a hand hooked itself into his blazer. A silver button popped violently off like a bullet. The iron fist had him by the front of his blazer, and he was drawn in terror up to the white-eyed face of a man with slick-back, ruffled, receding hair. A stink of sweat and aftershave. The boy screamed uncontrollably. Then suddenly the hand went slack, and he fell with a sick clunk, and the man fell on top of him, knocking the air from him. The man's shoulder lay across him like an iron door. He could smell the man's bad breath. The man's eyes were closed. Was he dead? No, he could hear his breath, shallow, weak. Somehow, he never knew how, painfully, he crawled out from beneath the man's impossible weight. Standing there, dizzy, gazing in a mist of unreality at the man, looking at the man's muddy tweed raincoat. He wondered what to do. Obviously, the man was badly hurt, maybe even dying. The boy could see blood on the grass, blood on the man's tweed trousers. The shamrocks he had gathered, he had forgotten. But looking in a panic around him and seeing the unpicked clumps, he somehow remembered that Mam had said that shamrocks had some type of medical properties. Yet Mam hadn't seemed to know how shamrocks could be used as a medicine. No, he had to go and get help. And the fastest way, the only way to do that, now that nightfall was coming on, was to walk down the lane past the gaggle of cottages belonging to them. He gathered himself together for the journey down the hill, swallowing with pain in his too dry throat, getting closer, closer to the whitewashed cottages, his crepe-soled sandals scrunching unbelievably loud on the gravel of the lane, until he realized that it would be more silent, though slower and wetter, to walk in the grass and weeds at the side of the road. He was almost at the cottages now. The lane curved round the end wall of the first cottage, and he wondered should he try to cut round the back of the cottages. But no, the only way was straight down the lane. He neared the corner of the first cottage, and suddenly the freckled lad came out from the corner, bigger, fatter looking, but still in a maroon school uniform. You! A leer appeared on the freckled lad's face as the fellow anticipated a revel of fresh torment for his past victim. The boy froze for a moment, then thought, no, he isn't going to stop me. He dashed forward, shoved into the freckled lad with all his might. The bully was sent skittering into the wet grass, taken completely by surprise. The boy started running past him, running with every last scrap of will he had past the last of the cottages, and didn't look back, was afraid to look back to see the freckled lad and his gang getting closer. Weak-legged, dizzy with exhaustion, he stumbled into the front hall of his house alone. And where the hell have you been, my lad? Dad looked at the clock. The boy saw vaguely that it was nearly 7. And just look at the bloody state of you, boy. You know, we have to leave for the hospital in 5 minutes. He never knew how he was able to stumble out the tale of what had happened. But then he was riding in the family Mini, Dad driving, thin-lipped, cursing, having to drive up to the lane where them families lived. And what would you be wanting here, mister? A man with a shotgun, freckle-faced father to the freckle-faced bully who stood peering belligerently round his gun arm, demanded of them. There's a man badly injured up by the well, Dad told him. Is there? The gunman was not admitting to the possibility. All right, presuming you're right, let's drive up nice and slow. They found the man as the boy had left him, collapsed in the shadow of the great rock. Kneecapped looks like poor blighter, prognosed the man with the shotgun, now pointed down. Soon police and an ambulance arrived with flashing blue lights and sirens. It was only after it was over, after they'd taken the injured man away, that the boy remembered he'd never stopped to wonder if the man was one of us or one of them. Dad picked up the bunch of bruised shamrocks, refilled the jam jar with the water from the well, and he and the boy walked back to the car. A fleck of blood had dried on one of the leaves of a shamrock. Thank you, Caleb.
Thank you, Christopher. Powerful stuff there. And I gotta say, I love the name Finn McCool.
Yeah,
It's a great name. Yeah, very good. Well, Christopher, thanks for dropping by tonight. It's always good to hear from you, and thank you for sharing the story tonight.
My pleasure.
Absolutely. Hope to see you next time.
Yep, see you next time.
All right, take care, Christopher. Cheers.
Night.
That's Christopher T. George joining us from Delaware tonight. You've got it tuned in here to Poetry Open Mic Asheville, and we're coming at you from Asheville, North Carolina tonight. It's good to be with you. My name's Caleb Beissert. It is always an honor and a pleasure to be your host. We had Eric Tran on the show as our featured poet tonight, and we've had a whole bunch of other wonderful performers, and we've got just a couple more for you before the night's over. I think there might even be an extra space if someone else wants to jump on tonight. We got that StreamYard link posted, but you want to keep it locked here because we got Jason Huber up next. Always coming through with fantastic work. It's good to hear from him. Jason's here in Asheville with us, and let's see if we can beam him in now. I did want to make sure we get our comments. These are comments for Christopher. That's a link to Elizabeth's book there from Vagabond. Check that out. Got that in the comments, and yes, indeed, some comments there for Christopher as well. We really appreciate the comments. Keep them coming. And keep them coming during this next performance. And put your hands together, jump up and down, shout, and scream for Jason Huber.
Hello.
Oh, what's up, Jason?
Not much. I may or may not have just spilled something. Give me a second.
I
got so excited.
Oh, I know. I've done the same thing. You know, actually, just right when I gotta go back on screen, and then I just swipe a drink like all over everything. It's happened, unfortunately. So anyway, I can commiserate.
Luckily, I still have some Kava on hand. So.
Oh man, well I hope you didn't lose too much.
No, I'm good.
Floor,
I'm good.
But all right, good. Well, cheers then.
Cheers. Oh, how are you today?
Oh, I'm great. You know, I'm doing open mic.
Love it.
You know, this is going well, and things are going well. I'm getting hopeful about some poetry readings and music concerts and stuff coming back eventually. I just got my first round of the vaccine.
Yeah, I got mine last week.
Yeah, cool. Okay. Very good. Yes.
Already people are posting on Facebook like, hey, when I get my second round, you want to make out?
Yeah. Nice.
So be keeping busy after the second round of shots. I'm sure.
Yeah, I know. Well, I hope you'll still have time to come by open mic. But
definitely.
I know people are ready to get back to making out as soon as possible.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
indeed.
it's important.
Yes.
It's
yeah, physical human touch. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Anyway, well, cool. What are you working with tonight, man?
I have a new short story that I'm still kind of working on, but I think it's ready enough for presentation.
New shit. Well, and like as we talked about earlier, open mic is revision too. It's a revision
absolutely.
process. I mean, I think it's okay. I mean, like, you don't want to just come on and read whatever. I get that. You want to like at least it's got to at least be open mic ready. But for me, that's one of the fascinating things, and I love it. Like when we're doing it every week, and sometimes, a lot of times, especially at the in-person one, I'd see people come back and read a piece again after it's been revised, and I don't know, I nerd out about revision, and I love seeing people's processes.
Well, pretty much every time there's going to be some revision every time I read it out loud.
So. Yeah. And it's great. Yeah, just little things will jump out here and there. That's cool. Well, I'm excited to hear the new work, Jason. I'll go ahead and turn it over to you. Thanks for being here. Y'all give it up for Jason.
All right. This is called It Takes a Village. There's a jar of cat whiskers sitting on a handmade wooden shelf. Both the jar and the shelf smell of olive oil. The jar is next to a box of brushed hair labeled June. On the shelf below are chocolate bar wrappers and cereal box tops carefully and neatly organized by date of consumption. The once white wall behind the shelf is yellowed with smoke and time. To the side of the shelf, along the yellowed wall, are canes, walking sticks, crutches, and walkers. They stretch to the corner of the room where a bin of used tennis balls sits. Each ball in the bin is marked by a cross-cut hole. There's a corridor of newspapers and magazines dating a 3-decade span. Somewhere in the corridor is a gray cat with an ear infection. Olive oil is rubbed in that ear, matting the fur and masking the smell. There are purple spiderwort veins at the tops of the rows of newspapers growing prodigiously towards the dim light which is shining through the well-worn screen door. A coat rack holds a large-brimmed and well-cared-for red hat with ribbons woven through it. On the rack, next to the hook, on the next hook, is a faux fur floor-length coat with a label on the collar that reads, Sundays. Monday. He found this job through an advertisement posted on campus for a program called My Village, Building a Community of Care. The flyer seemed innocuous enough. It showed a young woman and an elderly man playing checkers in a well-lit sunroom. The flyer is a far cry from the scene in front of him. This is hardly worth it, John thinks, staring at an imposing stack of newspapers. He needs to leave this place and forget the sight of so many stored bits of fur, nails, eyelashes, and Lord knows what else. He needs to purge the smell of olive oil and smoke from his nose. But more than that, he needs $12.50 an hour. Maybe there's a checkers board buried somewhere in here, he thinks. Miss Hemingway? He waits. Miss Hemingway, I'm your new caretaker from My Village. He sees a faint wisp of smoke over the top of the tallest newspaper wall. Are you in there? The wisp grows into a steady stream, slowly becoming black and billowing. Shit, he thinks, and he wills himself to move, knocking over a stack of thrifty nickels as he runs towards the smoke. Miss Hemingway, he says. After a short sprint and some adrenaline, he's standing in a kitchen door. He sees an old woman with a long lighter in one hand and a pair of scissors in the other. She stands 4 feet tall. Her skin betrays years of sitting in the sun, and her gray hair hangs in a braid down to her knees. She turns her head to look at him. Her tongue darts compulsively in and out and around her mouth. My name's Tana, she says, standing over the kitchen sink. The sink is on fire. On the counter next to it, there's a pile of mail. Each envelope has been opened and its contents spread out. Tiny rectangles are cut out of each bit of paper and from each envelope where her name would be. Those tiny rectangles make a smaller pile of Tana Hemingways in various shapes, sizes, and fonts. Just the name, Tana Hemingway. Tana Hemingway. Tana Hemingway. She brushes the Tana Hemingways into a cardboard box, grabs a handful of papers, and tosses them onto the blaze. John pushes past her to the sink, turns on the faucet. "What are you doing, Miss Hemingway?" he says. "Tana, and what does it look like I'm doing?" She licks the outside of her lips, first the top and then the bottom. She does this twice before dislodging the top denture from her mouth with her tongue. It rolls around for a few seconds before she reaches in and pulls it out. She sets the denture down on the kitchen counter and grabs a block of Hershey bar from her shirt pocket. "Would you like some?" The chocolate is soft, and it quickly coats her hands. "No, thank you." John grabs a dish towel, and after wiping the chocolate off, he sits her down at the kitchen table. It's covered with small, cylindrical black and gold film canisters, except for the space reserved for an ashtray. She lights a cigarette. "Why did you set a fire in the sink, Miss Hemingway?" "Tana, and I don't own a shredder," she says. "As your new caretaker, I'm responsible for your safety, and I need you to promise me that you won't do this again. I've been burning my mail since before your dad was a gleam in your grandpa's eye." She takes a draw from her cigarette and blows the smoke in his face. John waits for the smoke to clear. "Can you at least promise me that you won't set any fires without me around, just in case anything goes wrong?" he asks. "All right, if it'll make you feel better," she says. She stamps her cigarette out in the ashtray and continues, "You're a worrier, aren't you? It's bad for your blood when you worry." Wednesday. John's brain is generally jumbled after class, but today he's got a purpose, a large coffee cup, and an extra large roll of heavy-duty trash bags. He arrives at Miss Hemingway's house at 10:30 a.m. The screen door is unlocked, so he allows himself in. "Miss Hemingway?" he calls. "Come in here," she responds. John sets the garbage bags down and walks through the newspaper corridor and back into the kitchen. Tana is sitting and pointing at something on the table. "What do you think that is?" she says. He leans in and sees a small white fiber the size of a sewing needle. I don't know," he answers. "You really don't know?" She looks at him with her mouth wide open in exaggerated astonishment. She smacks her hands on her cheeks. "Well, pick it up," she says. It's not moving. It seems harmless enough. He picks it up. "Is it plastic?" he asks. "No." "Well, what is it?" Tana lets out a chuckle. "It's a cat whisker, silly." She smacks her legs and gives him a look. She points behind him and says, "There's a jar on the counter there. Get it." John turns around, cat whisker in hand, and sees a jar full of them. He unscrews the lid and puts the most recent whisker inside. "I'm going to get to work. Just let me know if you need me." He walks into the kitchen. He walks out of the kitchen. "I'm going to lay down for a nap. Don't worry about noise." He steps into the newspaper corridor living room. Nearest him is a stack of thrifty nickels. He grabs one from the top and inspects it. It's a free classified ad with a couple of local interest stories. There are penned circles around various advertisements. John begins shoveling them into a bag. The process is tedious and long. He spends nearly an hour cleaning the front entryway. He spends another hour unraveling the spiderwort veins from the 87 stack. His first girlfriend was born in 87. The newspapers are fused together, forming an odd sort of structural integrity for the labyrinth in the living room. When John was little, his mother had a Dalmatian. He swore the dog could run 60 miles an hour. The dog's name was Brutus. And Brutus liked to chase animals. He would chase, but rarely catch. One summer, however, he caught something. and John will never forget the sound that rabbit made in Brutus's jaws. While he's carrying 1987 to the curb, he hears that shrieking sound behind him. "Why are you doing this?" Tana screams. "Those are mine!" She's crying now. The neighborhood steps out to observe. "It's okay," John says. "I'm sorry. Come inside." Crying, she grabs at the bag in his hands. "We'll take these back inside, okay?" Carrying the bag between them, they slowly walk inside. Saturday. The screen door is locked. John sees a light in the kitchen and smoke coming over the newspaper pile. "Miss Hemingway?" he shouts. No response. He goes around back and finds another closed door. Tana is in the kitchen, smoking a cigarette and clipping papers. He knocks on the back door and catches her attention. "I would have let you in front," Tana says, going back to her half-full box of Tana Hemingways. "You're not setting fires, are you?" John asks. "I was waiting for you," she says, "and I can get started now." She pulls out her long lighter. "Well, shit," John thinks. He takes a moment to decide. "Nope, we can't make a fire in the sink. Not today," he says. "Excuse me?" she asks. "There will be no more fires in the kitchen sink." "I waited for you, and you said—" "I know what I said, and I can't let you do it. Of all the indignities!" She goes to light the pile of papers in the sink, and John grabs the lighter from her hands. "I said no. It's unsafe," he says. Tana sits at the table with a box of rectangular Tana Hemingways. She stares into it for a moment and then throws it at him. John watches the confetti parade of Tana Hemingways fall around him. She throws the box on the ground and fumbles for her pack of cigarettes on the table. "You're a liar and a scumbag," she says. She grabs the cigarettes and says, "Give me the lighter." John hesitates. "It's mine. Give it to me," she says. "No," he shouts. Tana shrinks and cries. Sunday. John hears sirens as he pulls up and sees flashing red and blue. The house is engulfed in flames and the neighborhood has come out to observe. They're gathered as close as the firefighters will let them. John stops his car in the middle of the street. "Miss Hemingway?" he says, wading through the crowd. "Miss Hemingway," he repeats, drawing some of the crowd's attention. "It's Tana, dear." He spots her standing in front of the group, wearing a wide brim, well cared for red hat with ribbons woven through it, and a floor-length faux fur coat. In her arms is a gray cat that smells of olive oil. She's holding court with her neighbors. Behind her, fire flicks out into the yard, burning the deadly nightshade, the lavender, and the rose of Sharon. He pushes his way through the throngs of spectators and comes face to face with his client. "Miss Hemingway, what did you do?" he asks. "It's Tana, dear. Tana. Ta-na. Tana, Tana, Tana. T-A-na." She's shouting now. Her voice echoes in the blaze behind her. "Well, what the hell happened, Tana?" His voice raises to meet hers. "You weren't there when I needed you." She slumps a little, embellishing her age. "You're supposed to take care of me." Her eyes betray her. She is the purple spiderwort, the thrifty nickels and cat whiskers. She has tennis balls in her stomach, rectangles in her brain, and a fire in her kitchen sink. And John is outside of himself. "I called the service. I won't be needing you anymore," she says. The end.
All right, Jason. Thanks, dude. Great stuff, man. Yeah.
A little bit different, kind of fun. So I like doing the
digging
voices at this point. So
I know, I've noticed that. But
That's
I
really
think
what I
I think it's good. I don't know. I used to listen to a lot of like audiobooks and stuff, and I love it when they like read the voices differently. And,
Yeah, I do a lot of driving. I commute into Cullowhee, and that gives me an hour and 15 minutes twice a day to listen to audiobooks. So
Oh, cool.
I listen
Very
quite a
nice.
bit, but-
Yeah. That is a good little commute. At least it's a pretty drive.
Yes,
going
it very
up
much
there.
did.
Yeah.
So, and I get a lot of reading in, so
Yeah.
can't complain.
Right.
Or more often than not, I prepare my class on the way up to Cullowhee and then do some reading on the way back. So
yeah. Hey, it happens. But yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, thanks for coming by tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, hope you can make it back next time, of course. And yeah, good luck with everything. And yeah, keep writing, man.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.
All right, cool. Bye. See you, Jason. Cheers. Give it up for Jason. Yes, awesome. Love the Hubers. Very good. All right. Yes, indeed. You're tuned into Poetry Open Mic Asheville, coming at you live, Asheville, North Carolina. Thanks for riding with us. Let's see. I think we got one more performer for you. Emilio Maldonado is coming up, so keep it locked right here, and then I'll close things out with some poetry. I do want to thank our featured poet again, though, Eric Tran. We got the website right there. I hope you'll check out his books and keep up with him. Check him out. Yeah, thanks to our feature. And thanks to everyone who read, performed, shared tonight. It's been a magical evening. We really appreciate it. I think we got a couple of comments here for Jason. Yes, indeed. We love the comments, too. Keep the comments coming. It's really good to hear from our viewers. Say what's up. Let us know how you're doing. And keep it locked right here to Poetry Open Mic Asheville. That's right. Yes, indeed. Cool. Thanks, Jason. All right. Do we have Emilio connected? What time is it? We might have a space left if anyone else wants one. Just get connected soon. All right. I think we got Emilio beaming in here. We got another great Chicago poet in the house tonight. The virtual house, of course. Emilio Maldonado is joining us. And we're going to see if we can beam him in here. So everybody make a whole bunch of noise for the one and only Emilio Maldonado. Give it up. What's up, Emilio? What's up, man? What you doing? You hear me? Hey. What's up, Emilio? We can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Sounds good.
Oh, okay. Cool. What you up to, man? Are you at a bar?
I am down the street from my place in a bar that's doing social distancing. My friend, my buddy Boombox Joe is DJing right now.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, and you know, he does like these like Latin polyrhythms and you know.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So
you're gonna read some poetry tonight with the DJ in the background?
That's what I'm gonna do.
All right.
And I figured, you know, I've been wanting to mix it up with doing things outdoors in Chicago and whatnot, but you know, weather wasn't really cooperating, so it's difficult. And then plus, I just didn't have the best equipment, but I got a different phone, so I was like, oh, let me experiment a little bit.
Yeah, it seems to be working for now.
Good, cool. Okay.
Yeah. That's what's up, man. Well, shit. You wanna spit some poems at us?
Sure thing.
All right, cool. Well, I'll turn it over to you, Emilio, joining us live from the bar down the street in Chicago. It's Emilio Maldonado. Y'all give it up.
I'll come get a drink in a second.
Oh my god.
I should probably bring you along while I order a drink, but well, I'm not Robin Williams yet. All right, this is City in a Garden. Me pierdo en minutos y segundos. Serán años de incertidumbre de conciencia or dreamland. Electric pulses measure the change between consciousness and abyss. Shadows linger on bright days. Night beckons. Leather awaits. Reposar. Olvidar. una vida delito, delincuencias de alma, de amor, de espejos, lo perdido. Busco el relax. Imperfect memory judges. A warm sun ray forgives. Perdido, leather, reposo. Cántame otra bolería. Todavía falta vino. My desires aren't done justice by silly pens. Ultimately, it falls to ballpoint. My desires and fantasies are running now. It's been a while since they stretched, darted, climbed, leapt, and ran hard. I just saw a photo of you. After seeing other photos of you, some for many, others done long ago. Does it matter how long? Some sent to me without veils. A few just for me. Without any semblance of permission or control. Caresses on my face and chest. Secret thought of vulnerability and undeserved trust. Oh, fools hope that karma left the gate unwatched. And a butcher's bill can be put on layaway. Comeuppance in installment payments financed by Cook Brothers or the stores on 47, brown or black side. Run by otros inmigrantes atrevidos. Not Gloria Trevi or Alejandra Guzman. Ahmed for Bridgeview. Sing from Highwood. It's hope too. Misguided, premature hope splayed on my bed, on my face, in my pants. Too stupid or clueless to think I can get to my seat without being noticed. Que los perros duermen. Candela. Emborrachado de sueños y lágrimas sin sostén, sin tierra para florecer. Un piano bugalú, una salsa dura, los bongos, pegado con emociones inmerecidas, vapor y humo. Te busco en mi soledad, te encuentro solo. Drinking my coffee, stoned and drunk. Self-consciously sweating, fearlessly in lust. Feeling imagined hierarchies from places reserved by others' blood, bravery, and threats. Those eyes. Manos vibran sobre piel de tambor. Cuero y desencuero. Those fucking nails. El cantante pidiéndole a Dios condenado por el diablo, condenado por el mismo Dios que rechaza mentirosos y ladrones. That glimpse of your knee. That glimpse of your knee. I'm nearly destroyed. I must do some harmony. ¿Qué problema con Mariana? El que se encontró mi pana. Star charts are written, are conjured, deciphered, lost, burnt. Those eyes, bro. Doo-wop oldies try to slow the fire in my chest. Still shaking. I'm flying home. North side sidewalk segments are consumed in strides that belong to the 80s. Crosswalks, street lights, late night menace, and run-of-the-mill drunk drivers become light trains. Psilocybin knows what's up. The night breeze propels, fights, blesses, permits my flight home. My mad dash to a bar stool. This was a photo only. Mine in doubt only. El fin de la vida. Amor infinito, las burlas de las brujas. No me paren, no me sostan. Todo se acaba, ¿verdad? Ahora canciones en portugués para que nos sentimos chingón. Es noche aquí en Buenos Aires, en Albuquerque, en las pirámides. Bajo la misma tú y yo. Las nubes te besan, el sol te molesta. La noche me llama. Espérame un poco. Voy a inglés. Whispers, baby. It's nighttime here in Sao Paulo, in Nola, at the Canal Zone. I'm drinking Puerto Rican rum with fruit squeezed in Brazil. Clouds greet you. The sun bothers the early morning lay. You don't want him to leave yet. He smells of you and beer and brandy and the dirty bed sheets he didn't change from the last guy. The clock radio goes off and he gets up. Sorry, Bis time is expired. I think I have next. I'm excited because it's nighttime on the north side of Chicago. I'm excited because it's nighttime on the north side of Chicago. I'm excited because it's nighttime on the north side in the city of Chicago. Good intentions get eroded quick by Friday night. Ciao. Borinquen. El Borinquen está cerrado. Hasta el Yunque me lo van a cerrar. Ya me quitaron el Surgeon de Fades. Ya me quitaron el sabor de lechón. El Borinquen está cerrado. Se cerró el Borinquen. Qué tragedia estamos esperando, como siempre en el bus de la California. Que nunca llegue cuando lleve, cuando debe. Ídolos falsos, internet falsos, policías falsas. Los perros corren en las calles. Los cerdos protegen para otros esquinas y banquetas. ¿Dónde compraba mi lata de Miller Lite con $1? Se ha hecho unas donas de lujo majadera para gente de ojo redondo, pelón y sin vergüenza. En lugar de la bodega de manteca y de la botánica, llegan smoothies y un bar and grill. Que no conoce a risa profunda. No sabe cómo batallar. No tolera mi fastidio. La gente ya no trabaja. Estamos aquí de servicio. Se cerró el Borinquen. El Borinquen está cerrado. Un taller de mecánica donde mataron a un joven y ni siquiera una ofrenda existe. Se está haciendo otro condominiazo. No lo aguanto y no los invité. Este frío, este cambio de clima, el climate change en abril, es un castigo de los sins y las violaciones contra la tierra, pero también este es un castigo que se ha mandado a nuestra gente por tolerar el gabacho y el backpack. Estos huevones de cultura que nomás saben 5 de mayo, pero no saben lo que pasó en mis historias, ni las de ellos mismos. Hablando de déspotas cuando ellos mismos Son los terroristas de toditito el mundo. Se quitó la lavandería, el laundromat, y me ponen otra cafetera que quebrará en 6 meses porque no es suficiente trendy. Caminan en nuestras calles con su pelo rubio, sin vergüenza, con sus perros, con alas altas, sin vergüenza, haciéndonos para pasar por otro lado de la calle, de la ciudad, con sus juguetes. Disfrutando de mi vida, de nuestras vidas. Se cerró el Borinquen. El Borinquen está cerrado. ¿Qué nos pasa, Humboldt Park? Los vendidos están ganando, han ganado. ¿Qué más nos queda? Yo quiero un lugarcito mío, pero siempre viene con bala y droga. Cuando nosotros estamos componiendo el barrio y disminuyendo, las lágrimas de las madres vienen porque hay oferta en lámina y madera, piso y pared. Se cerró el Borinquen está cerrado. Nuestras calles están rotas, se ponen horribles. El bus sigue corriendo cuando quiere. Mira, ahí viene el California, qué milagro. Solo ha pasado 1 hora. A las calles le falta ambiente y música. Están frías estas calles. Se cerró el Borinquen. El Borinquen está cerrado. Las mochilas, los gabachos con sus reglas bien rectas y lindas, puras reglas. ¿De quién? De ellos. Se me estaba acabando el abril, pero era muy frío para un raspado. El castigo. Se cerró el Borinquen. El Borinquen está cerrado. I'm going to step outside for this last one. It's about 30 degrees right now in Chicago, and it's raining. I have an ancestor who's currently beginning his transition to the other side. Para la muerte. A las 5 de la tarde, eran las 5 en punto de la tarde. Un niño trajo la blanca sábana a las 5 de la tarde. Lo demás era muerte y solo muerte a las 5 de la tarde. Anda, vete fea. Anda, vete fea. Heartache es lo que traes. Desde aquí oigo sus gritos. Sus sufrimientos son los míos. Toda la arena. Ashes, child. Ashes. Que un toro bravo en su muerte. 3 días me esperan. I'm going to open that death letter 3 times sometime. En un pueblo en Andalucía nació José Delgado Gallego. Condición pobre y sencilla. Tenía arte y majestad. Poeta, cantor. Bulerías y segurías left waiting to be cried, to be ached, to be shared, to be remembered. Cold. Fea. Te reclamo. A stink of dead whores and maggot-ridden sailors, closing the bar early with no respect to the men that will drink, that can drink, that cry alley cat blues, that sing the moon to sleep, sunrise's favorite companion. And the men that scratch the flea bag dog of man, we all live warm, love. Te reclamo. Odio y odiosos asesinos, knee bending, ring kissing, bloody murder clowns, j'accuse. My dear curls, my dear dark hair. Que un bravo toro en su muerte, un torito bravo en su muerte. This is my neighborhood.
Yeah. That's Emilio Maldonado joining us from the street outside the bar in Chicago.
Chicago is famous for its murals all over the place. This is done by a local. This is a local Puerto Rican artist.
Wow.
Yo sería borincano aunque naciera en la luna, which means I'll be fucking Puerto Rican even if I was born on the moon.
I love that. I love that.
But it's just really
incredible.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm just
wow.
This is everywhere in the city, man. Like across the street, I don't know if you can make it how dark it is. Over there,
I can see it.
That's a recreation of a march of young, the young lords in New York. And that's just across the street. It's all over.
It's amazing. A lot of history on those streets.
Yeah, man, this is Division Street. It's not Circle Rope out this street, man.
But a lot of right now too, you know.
Oh hell yeah!
A lot of right now, a lot of art happening. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it's all right there.
Yes,
man.
Sir.
Man, I wish I could. I wish I could come. Cheers you.
Yeah.
Have a drink. Salute.
Me too. Me too, man.
Yeah. But that's cool, man. Hey, that last poem, that was heavy, powerful stuff, man. That was beautiful.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, I love that. And best wishes to your ancestor.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, sending the hearts out, sending the love out.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, and thanks for joining us tonight, man. Thanks for flying in from the bar, and and thanks for turning Elizabeth on to the show.
Yeah, man, she's fantastic,
She's fantastic. Yeah, she was phenomenal. I really hope she comes back and reads some more poetry for us. Great stuff. I'm gonna have to get the book. Yeah, for sure.
That first one I read tonight was new.
Oh, okay. New shit.
Totally
new shit.
Yeah.
I love it, man. It's very good.
This is the first time I read off of paper in a really long time. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, yeah. No, I know what you mean. No, I was just going to say, I think that the bars, like, that was a really good setting for your poetry. A lot of that.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
I was feeling the vibes.
Yeah. The only thing I was concerned about was how much the ambient noise would drown out, the poem,
I could hear it pretty well, surprisingly enough.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So hopefully everyone else did.
Yeah, man. It just kind of worked out. I told my friend that I wanted to come by. His name is Boombach Joe.
Boombach.
I told.
Okay.
Yeah. I was in the bar called Esmeralda's.
Oh, okay.
And anyhow,
and he's just spinning some tunes in there.
He's spinning some tunes, but he's my buddy. I actually we did like a joint poem DJ piece.
Oh no shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to hear that.
It was pretty cool. Yeah. Anyhow, we were just talking just about like, oh man, it's the same night I do poetry. I'd love to kind of like do poems over your beats. He's like, yeah, that'd be cool. Come on. Yeah. So I was like, fuck yeah, cool. So, and then it just worked out that there was a spot away from everybody. So I wasn't going to be like shouting over someone else's story. I mean, they're doing social distancing and it's cold and raining. So there's not a lot of people in here.
Yeah.
So it worked out even easier to do. Yeah.
That's good.
I thought about taking the mask off
safe.
at one point. I'm like, well, I don't, if I can't be heard, I can't be heard. It's not because of the fucking mask. So let me just be safe. Let me just be safe to everybody else, you know?
Yeah, it ain't worth it. Yeah, we're not out of the water yet, but
oh hell no, yeah.
You know.
Although tomorrow I got my first shot of the vaccine, so
oh sweet, dude, I got my first one last week.
yeah, I'm hopeful. I'm starting to feel a little bit more.
I said that to him when they pricked me, you know. I was like, you know, it's been a hard year. I've certainly been more fortunate than some people have, but it's still been a hard year, and today gives some hope. You know, it was you know, it was like a little emotional. It was like kind of
man. I remember you told that you told that
yeah. And
that's it's funny you say that. I'm nervous about tomorrow. I'm gonna do a big I don't get nervous when I'm gonna go get the flu. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
You know, I go every year to get a flu shot. But you know, like this one is just like, oh boy. You know,
it's a new thing. Yeah, it's a new kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, I felt kind of shitty afterwards. I mean, it wasn't bad, but like, yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Like, you know, I was achy and tired for like the next day or so. But
even a flu shot will
certainly
do that,
better
though.
than sounds better than COVID though. But
good Lord, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, buddy.
But yeah, man, it's good to see you, man. I'm glad you're out there doing your thing, and getting to it.
Yeah, I've been wanting to play around with doing. I mean, you don't know how many times like during the summer and fall, I was like, damn it, if I just had a better, because like my phone, the battery would die out. It wasn't even hot. You know, it was just like I said, I just upgraded, so I'm like, okay, let me try it. Now I can do a mobile show. I've been wanting to do it for a while, you know. Chicago's
it's weird.
So cool.
It is so cool, and you know, it's funny. Like when you start doing live stream poetry, suddenly there's a visual element that it's like, what I do with the visual element, you know. And so we, you know, over here I just tried to make it cozy for people, you know, provide some comfort in these times or something. But
this is much cooler
like,
than
it's
wall
cool.
in my room.
Yeah. Although I mean that's cool. Sometimes it's intimate. I mean, how intimate is that? Yeah. You get a poet reading to you from their bedroom or their workspace or something.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's very cool. But
but
it's cool to switch it up too. You know, I like the poet from the bar, and of course the time you joined us from the hospital, that was fantastic.
Yeah. Well, you know that
props
that
on
was that was dedication, man. That's dedication.
That is definitely dedication.
I just want to thank my trainer. You know, he helped me out. He helped me, you know, like we were working on that in camp. You know, and you know, and he was just like, you know, you're gonna be at this one moment. You're gonna want to do it at a sleep study. And I'm like, are you sure about that? And he's like, yeah, you know, no, just go roll with it, do it. Don't let nothing stop you. Don't let nothing stop you. And I was like okay, yeah. Don't let nothing stop you.
Right.
So
don't ever let nothing stop you, man.
Don't let nothing stop you. Don't let nothing stop you, kids. I haven't even had a drink yet.
Yeah, where are the drinks, Emilio? You gonna order some drinks or what?
I'm gonna have a couple Tutrina. I'm gonna have a couple.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, I'll let you get to it, man. But thank you. Cheers, salute.
Hey, who knew poetry could put you in a good mood? Especially when I should be feeling terrible.
Yeah.
All right, brother.
It's shitty out, but there's poetry in the world.
Yeah, you know, my uncle, my tío Toño, he's on his way out.
Right.
But much love to everyone over there.
Much love to you and your
Morgan.
Tío. And
Morgan, I love you.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Caleb,
shout out the technical director, Morgan.
Caleb,
you know what? Emilio's okay. You know, he's all right.
Emilio's right. What is it like that? Emilio's right with me. Anyway.
Yeah, there you go. That's your new. We're gonna play that next time. All right, go get some drinks, Emilio. It's good to see you.
Big hugs to everybody out there.
Big hugs, man. Take care, E. Live from Chicago, Amelia Maldonado. Give it up, everybody. Yeah. All right, cool. That was fun. Amelia Maldonado joining us live from the bar in Chicago. Thanks, Amelia. Appreciate you stopping through. Yes. throwing back for us. Anyway, it's been a fantastic evening. Thanks everyone for joining us. I'm gonna round things out with some poetry. Y'all check us out here next week. You can sign up in the Poetry Open Mic ABL group on Facebook. We'll post that list up soon, and we have another great feature poet for you. So stay tuned for that. It's community time. All right. And of course, thanks to Morgan Beissert and Sovereign Kava and all of our performers tonight. And of course, our feature poet, Eric Tran. Check him out there at the website. And we really appreciate everyone's likes, comments, and shares. We see the comments and we appreciate y'all. Yeah. I know, I love the whole performance of it. It was a great set. Much love to everyone here on the Love Stream. The live stream, Love Stream, coming at you. Here we go. This poem is called How to Overcome Stage Fright. 1. Live where language has been forgotten. Words you speak become the nonsense speech of dreams. Scorpions remain hidden, their metaphors sting worse. 2. Fugitive image, so few have seen, can't be saved. The tragedy of our tongues lays waste to what we've gained. 3. Once we grew hands that worked for us, vine networks flowered with modern art, words erased in decaying air. I suppose there's beauty in art that remains hidden, left in remote caves, forgotten in attics, abandoned in back alleys by trash cans and chain link fences. 4. Speak out of that star fire of 1,000 lamp darkness into the moon hearts of eyes you can't see. My foreign voice howls with poetry. One friend understands. And this is called Last of the Porch Times. Porches are places I can often get a lot of writing done. And they're good for that. I move on to another porch. Porch times are about unwinding in solitude after a stretched day of work, or sharing sound of our thoughts and arroyos of laughter. One time my roommate sat on the chair wasps had built a nest under. Their sudden swarm stung her dozens of times before she realized what it was. The porch never noticed us. Its weathered planks buckle in waves that creak underfoot. Its railings cast themselves on faces. You and I sway in the porch swing, drawing closer to each other on cold nights when mountain wind crawls the icy street and dark trees groan. That's where I saw the wildcat that came to inhabit my dreams. I think she was trying to tell me something. My language fails to reach across. I must listen to those who have been speaking since before words. To listen from inside. To translate a tongue spoken without tongue, to see what is beyond meaning. I think I know what the cat was saying. Dream spell synchronous. The raindrops beats like broken buckets, buckshot sprayed garbage pails, and rubber banded barrels, artificial and holy, still capable of music. Producing a session with 10,000 players, sawed-off whistles shriek piercing the sun, with lurid turrets syncopating, while conch shells billow the sea waves darting, and enemies make time for a child to be born and learn to swim. No noise can harm the one who harmonizes with it. No gesture can destroy the one who from it blooms. Enough, said people's voices, full of cancer from fear. There lie deep pockets of wilderness we must never go. We must leave for the creatures we've never known. The air is leaking, and somehow we must sew quilts of it. Turtles reckon they're better off swimming, but still return to the shore. Ancient tea is beneficial too. Rockets made for art, not war, though art is war, and much depends upon a purple umbrella upside down, brimming with rainwater, beside the gray pigeons. The rain keeps falling out the window, and falling 20 stories, about falling, and the rain falls looks like rain. She brings the rain. God knows I tried. Africa, in the early morning rain, purple rain. You look like rain. The rain, super-duper fly. And the terroir here is like jewels. Keep on swimming to the estuary, where all our endangered loves breathe, our gray whales and stellar sea lions, limitless unseen fire, birthing sky. I'll leave y'all with a little Rumi. This world which is made of our love for emptiness. Praise to the emptiness that blanks out existence. Praise to the emptiness that blanks out existence. Existence. This place made from our love for that emptiness. Yet somehow comes emptiness. This existence goes. Praise to that happening over and over. For years, I pulled my own existence out of emptiness. Then, one swoop, one swing of the arm, that work is over. Free of who I was, free of presence, free of dangerous fear, hope, free of mountainous wanting. The here and now mountain is a tiny piece of straw. A tiny piece of straw blown off into emptiness. These words I'm saying so much begin to lose meaning. Existence, emptiness, mountain, straw, words, and what they try to say swept out the window, down the slant roof. These words I'm saying so much begin to lose meaning. Existence, emptiness, mountain, straw, words, and what they try to say swept out the window, down the slant of the roof. Words and what they try to say swept out the window, down the slant of the roof. Swept out the window, down the slant of the roof. The here and now mountain is a tiny piece of straw blown off into emptiness. These words I'm saying so much begin to lose meaning. Existence, emptiness, mountain, straw, words, and what they try to say swept out the window, down the slant of the roof. Thanks for coming to Open Mic tonight, y'all. It's been a pleasure. We'll see you next time. Cheers.